Hey, what's up? How you doing, guys? How you doing? As you can see, that's a live stream. We are doing um, we're doing a very interesting live stream today, and I'm just waiting for people to come in, which they are doing. Now, I'm going to talk about, you know, recent developments, what I think the occult significance of that might be, the trajectory that we're on, developments in general in the coming years, and now in the meantime, until I really start talking about that stuff, you can already, if you want, you can already share questions, and I will do my best to answer those. Happy to be here. Finally made it. That's awesome, Kathy. Patrick Sanford, how you doing, man? Akira, what's up, boss? Looking good. Thank you very much. And yeah, great. Now, I think the only disadvantage um, of me being here where I'm at, the location is that it's 1 a.m. So it's in the middle of the night for me. For you guys, it's more in the afternoon, right? So obviously, I already had a long day. I have a long day behind me, so I'm not at 100 right now, but I'm still gonna try to give you some good value. Okay. So recent developments. I'm sure you all heard about uh, three soldiers, American soldiers, being killed in or by Iran, supposedly. Now, we can't look at this whole thing isolated or in an isolated fashion. Why? Because this is happening. Obviously, it was a false flag, right? Yes, I'm saying it here. It was a false flag. Why? Because they want to go to war. They want to start World War III. You know. Now, I'm sure you're aware that. Hey, Ra, what's up? I'm sure you're aware that in 2020, what was that? 2022. Yes, Russia started the war with Ukraine, right? And what we're seeing here is essentially an escalation. What they're trying to do is, first of all, um, they're trying to. They're actually at war with China. That's what you can't forget, right? So China is the rising power on the one side, and the U.S. and the West, basically NATO and its forces. Uh, they don't want to see that rise, right? So there's something called the Thucydides trap, which is Thucydides was a Greek political philosopher, and he observed that whenever a new power is rising, the old power is going to go to war with it, at least in most of the cases, right? And that's what's called the Thucydides trap, because it's very, very rare that um, the transfer of power uh, takes place peacefully, right? So what we're in right now is the Thucydides trap, right? But these um, these countries never go to war directly, or at least not in the beginning. What they do is proxy wars, right? So they have their minions, their uh, surrogates doing the war for them, right? Now, Russia is essentially on the side of China, right? Now they all, of course, they have their own agenda, but they're on that block. They're on the side of China, and the first kinetic war, meaning the hot war that started in this whole series, was the war between Russia and China. Russia and Ukraine. So Russia attacked Ukraine, and they're winning. They're really winning. Now here we got NATO very close, right? I'm in Germany. This is actually it's NATO territory, and I mean, what the U.S. is trying to do right now is they're trying to escalate the situation, and they want to go to war with, first of all, Iran, right? Because then they can lock down a lot of oil a lot of resources there, right? On top of that, it's weakening. It's going to weaken the Eastern Coalition, which is China's part of that, Russia's part of that, India's part of that, all the BRICS nations, right, and some others too. Essentially, I mean, the game is essentially the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? That's really what it's about. It's not that India and China like each other. India and China are not good friends, but they're willing to cooperate in order to fight the U.S. and its allies, right? So um, that's what we're seeing right now, and man, it's really really hard because see, here's the problem. The next president of the United States is going to be Trump, obviously, right? Trump's going to win, and they know that Trump is not going to play that game. He's going to try to de-escalate. He's going to try to de-escalate, and the war, World War III, can probably prevent it by getting Trump into office. Right now, this means that they now have to escalate. They still got till January next year. I think that's when Trump will be in office, right? So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to start and escalate, and they do that usually by false flags. All right, what is a false flag? You either have information that something's going to happen and you let it happen. So you let the enemy do something to you so that you can then use that as a justification. Pearl Harbor was one of those, right? It's a very old tactic. It's been done for a very very long time. Boston Tea Party. You think those were Native Americans? No, Boston Tea Party were those were Englishmen, right? So the bottom line is this: the last attack. Maybe you heard of that, maybe you didn't, but that was a false flag in my opinion. And now it's going to be the it should be the justification for starting a war with Iran. With Iran, I mean, there's already a war with Iran, but you can get troops on the ground and you can escalate because now the public will probably agree with what you're saying. Now, I mean, in 2024, people are so informed, so well informed because there's a lot of alternative media out there that gives you an alternative perspective, and the stuff is really really good. So it's not as easy as with 2001, where I remember I was 16 years old in 2001, right? And no, I was 15 still. I was 15, and anyways, 9/11 happened, and it was on TV. This was before the rise of the internet. Remember, this was, I mean, the internet existed in 2001, but it was nothing like uh, what we have right now. This is like you can't even compare the two. This was still Web 1.0. You didn't even. I mean, it was super hard to like video streaming was non-existent. Video streaming like we're doing it right now didn't even exist. Right? You could download videos and you could watch videos, but that was super slow. AOL, exactly. Yeah, that's like 56, 56K modems and all that bullshit, right? Incredible. It took forever, and chat rooms were the big thing back then. So things like Omegle didn't exist. You couldn't even, yeah, you couldn't stream yourself over the internet. That shit didn't exist. You know, I'm not even sure that in 2001 you could already like live stream audio. I'm not even sure about that. It was like it was a different world completely. Smartphones. I remember I had my first smartphone. I got it at 15 too. My first, sorry, it wasn't a smartphone. It was a fucking portable fucking phone. It was, it was huge, massive, and it had one game on it. The game was called Snake, and the worldwide leader in in mobile phones back then was called Nokia, a I think Norwegian firm or a Finnish firm. I think it was a Finnish company, Finland. Nokia. Can you believe that shit? Yeah, that was actually true. And I think Apple became really strong in 2005 or something. 2005, 2006, and uh, well, I mean, the strategy of Steve Jobs was very very brilliant. But I'm not going to go into that. But anyways, so a different world. So back then, people believed what was being shared on the news. People believed that the government was actually telling the truth, right? I mean, now we know it's not about, I mean, if you're in America, the the Chinese are not your enemy. Obviously, the people that run your country use you or use your resources in order to get richer. And for that, I mean, it's like basically divide and conquer, right? That's really what it is about. So, in a sense, we could say that every government is the enemy of the people. That's the same in the US, China, Europe, everywhere. But I think there are still a lot of people, maybe 20% of the population. I don't know how many. Usually the older people, right? The older, the more brainwashed they still are. They're really, really like if people spend most of their life plugged into, you can call it the matrix or mainstream media and that narrative, you're not gonna get them to accept that the world is a little bit different, right? But I mean, we understand that the world is different, and that's actually should be the majority by now, right? I mean, maybe 30, 40% of the population is still plugged in, but the rest are uh, do think differently. So it's much harder for them now. So they have to be a little bit more, you know. I think if you want to call it, I guess they gotta develop smarter strategies on how to rally people up and get them to go to war, get them to want to go to war, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, the people that rule this world right now, they have decided that they want to cull the population quite a bit, right? Want to cull the population, and you still hear people say, I mean, if they really would go that far, that means that they're evil. I mean, who can be so? These people are evil. I don't think you understand how evil the people are that run the world, right? I mean, come on, it's that's literally demonic. If there's any, I mean, this word has, I mean, it's become a buzzword and it has kind of lost its flavor or its power, because I mean, magicians like me and others, I mean, we throw the word demon around a little bit. It's a little bit inflationary, right? But the you have to understand that the people that run the world are literally demonic. They thrive of suffering, death, destruction, and torture. You see, and they've decided that we don't need as many people anymore. That's just basically it, straight up, right? I'm definitely not the first one that tells you that. I'm sure you heard that in some other context, but it's getting really real. It's getting really tight. Now, I think 2 years ago, I made a live stream once again on. Or was it a lecture? I don't know. I was doing some lecture for some program, and I was telling people, listen, the American democracy is not going to exist past 2026. It's not going to be here past the American Republic, as you know, right? It's not a democracy; it's a republic, right? As you know it, it's not going to exist past 2026. It's gonna there's going to be a massive change, and now I'm not saying that America is the only place that's going to change in a massive way, and not in a pretty way. It's the same here too, you know. So it's going to be a very, very hard time for the next 20 years. Very hard time. Overall, we're moving towards hopefully, and I really hope for the best. Now there are still multiple scenarios, but generally speaking, I think the next couple hundred years are going to be positive. Next couple hundred years are actually going to be positive. Um, but it requires a growth in consciousness. And if you know anything about growth and development, it always takes pain for us. We are creatures that only learn through pain. That's the problem. And even things like World War II, which was one of the biggest catastrophes globally, worldwide, it's only been 80 years or so. 2000, yeah, it's been roughly 80 years, and people have already forgotten. We've forgotten how horrible that was. I've never seen a war. Um, your I mean probably your grandparents saw a war. When I say war, I'm talking about like things that really affect your life. Of course, I mean your country has been at war for a long time since like Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan, and all these countries, right? But that doesn't really, like, it doesn't happen in front of you, in front of your door. It's not that your parents get or your family members get killed, and it's not that you're starving because there's no sanitation and no food and all that stuff. What I'm talking about, war, I'm talking about actually experiencing that bullshit. And yeah, the problem is that we forget that every 80 years, and this is not something unique to us. It's human nature. And if you go back in time, 80 years back, we're in World War II. Before that, we have, I mean, shortly before that, we had World War One, which was already a catastrophe, right? And before that, we had, uh, you know, other wars, the Civil War. Then before that, we have like the Napoleonic Wars. Before that, we have, and when I say all of these things, understand that these are massive, massive bloodbaths, massive bloodbaths, and more and more and more. So every 80, I mean, we have small wars every 10, 20 years, and massive wars every 80 years. That's just what it is. That's how the cycles go. And now it's time for another really, really massive, bloody, disgusting war. That's what it is, basically. And we're moving towards World War III. I hope it's not going to be nuclear. I really hope so, right? But the world is burning on multiple fronts, right? It's burning in the Middle East. I mean, it's burning in Europe. It's burning. It's soon going to be burning. I mean, it's already burning in Africa, East Africa, and it's going to continue to burn in multiple different places. And other players are going to come in. And then, I mean, we're already in a world war, and it's been going on since 2020. Do you think COVID COVID was a bioweapon? We all know that by now. It was a bioweapon developed in the lab and then put out there, right? So let me just answer some questions here. I live in the U.S. and I agree 100%. I stay under the radar, but I understand when the time comes, I'll have to get scrappy to survive what they are trying to do to us. Have you seen the new Napoleon movie with Joaquin Phoenix? Yes, I have seen it. No, no, let me correct that. Sorry, I've seen. I was in a theater for 30 minutes. For 30 minutes, and then I left. I got out of there because it was. Um, I mean, that was a hit piece. Clearly a hit piece. Yes, so yes, to answer your question, I've seen it. A shit movie. Sorry to say that, but it was just bad. The first 30 minutes that I've seen. But I can't listen. I can't watch movies these days. I just can't watch movies these days. I can't. I do have Netflix, and once in a while, yes, the Bronze Dawn, Aurelius Sopex, your favorite sorcerer, just wants to zone out and watch a movie. Yes, it happens once in a while, once in a blue moon. But I might as well not do it because I start watching something for 2 minutes and I turn it off. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I turn it off. It's unwatchable. I can't watch that shit. I can't. I just can't. It's so bad, man. It's really bad. I mean, number one, listen, it's it's just fucking ridiculous, man. It's like literally dominatrixes all around. Literally, it's literally psychological warfare against masculinity. That's really what's going on in most of these movies. That's it. That's literally what it is. Men are just fucking idiots, and women are just better. They The last movie I watched in full was I think Creed 3. Creed with Michael B. Jordan. And even there, it was like, okay, the boxer that makes his living beating the shit out of people is is only half as strong or almost as strong as this woman because the woman is not only just as strong as him, but she's also emotionally more capable than him. So he's basically a little boy that needs her to fucking save him from himself. That was basically the subtext. Um, and it's basically just, I mean, it's I would call that psychological warfare. on men. That's basically what's going on out there, right? And I don't know how it would like if you're a young boy growing up these days. I mean, first of all, okay, I'm not even that old, okay, but I mean, I guys that I see these days, or younger guys that I see these days, they look very feminine to me. They really do. They look like they're not really manly, not at all. Um, and I don't know what happened between me and like what happened in 20 years, or sorry, not even 20 years. It's like let's call it 15 years. When I was their age and my age, it's like really, I don't know what's going on there. But um, some say microplastics. I don't know what the fuck that is. But do you have runes tattooed on your arms? Yes, I do. On my forearm, I have runes. But I digress, man. I'm not even talking about the subject here. So, yes, I believe there's a psychological warfare going on. Absolutely. I mean, it's undeniable at this point. Psychological warfare on men, and yeah, that's the bottom line. Psychological warfare. And like that's a very well studied subject. You know, so it's absolutely intentional, 100%. Frank, you said precious metals won't be a good investment in terms of prices. Will they serve another purpose as a good investment with everything going on in the world? Sure. I mean, listen. I think as a good investor, what you want to study is power, which is politics. Then you want to study uh, human nature, which is war. You have to start. You have to study wars and then how they start, and then and the transfer of power usually happens through war. Then you want to study oil, oil because oil is still the main resource. So study the dynamics of oil, and if you can, like, if you understand the distribution of oil, the usage of it, and all that stuff, you can, to an extent, predict geopolitics as well, which is the next thing. You got to study geopolitics, which is demographics. Demographics and resources are geopolitics, right? Um, you want to study money, which is gold. And that's why I'm mentioning that here. Money is gold. Everything else is currency, and currency is not something that lasts very long. Okay, so currency is fiat, which is fake, but what's behind that is money, and that's gold. And the distribution of gold, the amount of gold, the prices of that, the development, its relative value to the currency, and all that stuff is also very important, of course. And what else should you study? I think history as well. So these are the things. I said power, which is politics. I said money, which is gold. I said geopolitics, which is demography, and the distribution of resources, which is not just oil but also diamond, like all this stuff, right? And lastly, you should probably study history. So those four things are very important if you want to be good at investment. I think um, they make sense. You know. Now, I believe that when it comes to newer asset classes such as crypto, I think retro drops are going to help you a lot. They also inversely correlate with gold. You know, um, but coming back to your question here, you said precious metals won't be a good investment in terms of prices. Will they serve another purpose as a good investment with everything going on in the world? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hedge. It's a store of value for sure. I'm not saying gold is useless. I'm just saying it always depends on your approach. What do you want to do? Do you want to Do you want to have a yield? Then gold is shit because it doesn't have a yield. It doesn't throw off cash flow. You know, you can't let somebody live inside of your gold bar, so it has no cash flow. It's super heavy, so it's not it's you can't transport it easily. It's hard to store, and then there's a safety issue. All of these things, right? But it's a great store of value. So when you have a crash of a system and the fiat currency basically goes to zero, the price of a precious metal, which is a store of values, is going to go up, and you can then exchange that for for other assets. I don't know. You can buy real estate with it, or you can transfer it into other assets that can help you, right? I mean, this is nothing new. The financial system always works like that, right? Regardless of what currency, regardless of reset or not, you have in the beginning, you always have something that gold is the only real money, right? So you have gold, and the whole um, uh, financial system is based on gold, you know. So people can't barter with each other because that's too complicated. So they use a currency that refers back to the amount of gold in order to be able to trade faster and easier, right? And in the beginning, the currency is connected to, or it's tied to the amount of gold that an economy has, right? And then usually at one point, when people get too greedy, or governments get too greedy, it's not the people's fault, right? Governments get too greedy, now they need more money. So they decouple the currency from the amount of gold that they have. And then it's fucking uh, sky's the limit. So they keep printing, keep printing, keep printing. Now you have inflation. The amount of gold is still the same, but the amounts of cash pile up to whatever, like up to the sky, up to the moon, and that means inflation. So eventually, um, the currency loses its value. People lose its trust in the currency, and then it's hyperinflation, and then it's useless, it's worthless, and nobody wants it anymore. And then there's a reset of the system, of the financial system, right? Now, this has been happening in the past. Now, we're going to see something similar happening, but with a little twist, because now, this time it's going to be different because we have digital currencies, which allow for an increase in control, and a surveillance of what you do with your money. Okay, but that's a different topic. So the bottom line is, um, when the currency crashes, of course, gold is extremely valuable because everybody's going to want to have it. So the demand for gold is going to go up. So now, if you have gold, if you have precious metals, of course, it's going to be worth much more. Yes. Now, the problem is, though, that these moves uh, make sense when you have a lot of capital that you can put into gold right now, because then you have like a nice sum, and if it 10x's, it's really really high. But usually that doesn't make sense. What would make sense right now, in my opinion, is to use the volatility that we have in the markets right now, and it's only going to increase. Like we just looked at the geopolitical situation right now globally, and there are a couple of assets that are going to go through the sky, right? I mean, if you look at the stock market right now, it's still solid, it's still strong. Why? Because we still have loads of liquidity there. So there's a lot of volatility, and you can make money in the stock market. But I believe what's even more volatile is um, crypto, and there's a new trend right there. And as usual, the more people know about something, the less valuable it becomes, the less profitable it becomes. And right now, retro drops are the shit. I'm telling you, between now and 2025, you're going to be able to 30x your money using retro drops. You know, and if somebody has a question about what retro drops are, put that in the chat. I'm gonna I'm gonna answer that. See, the main problem with investing and with finances in general is this, and you realize that over time as you study this stuff more and more and more, the problem is that people have an approach to it, generally speaking. People have an idea that investing works like, give me a tip, I do this, and I do one move, and then I'm rich. This is a just like most things that are propagated in pop culture or urban myths or whatever. It's not true. That's not how things work. We always have to ask ourselves where our ideals come from, our ideas of how things work. Generally speaking, believe it or not, Hollywood is going to have its hand in it. But Hollywood is fucking TV or movies, and they're going to give you a wrong version of how things actually work. It's always the same thing, you know. And it's things take time and things grow gradually. And it's the same with investing. You have to Is investing is about understanding an asset class, understanding the dynamics between the asset classes, understanding the financial system as a whole, which nobody completely understands the financial system. That's not what I'm saying, but understanding the broader dynamics, how um, a war in the Middle East is going to affect which asset class, what effect is going to have. I mean, when you look at the war between Russia and Ukraine, what effect did that have on grain prices? If you can't answer that question right away, you have a lot of studying to do because that's simple. I'll tell you how you know that. Ukraine was or is the fourth or was before the war the fourth biggest exporter in the world of exporter of grain in the world. So if that country is being attacked, of course it's going to increase the grain prices because the supply is going to decrease, you know. So it's a way of thinking about things, about how to you know how to analyze situations, and that's really what it is about. Now, like I said, um, gold is very particular because it is a store of value, but it has a lot of downsides as well. And there you go. Will you save this life? Yes. Frank, I manifested someone using a sigil but accidentally left some trades out. Can I change it or will it have to start over again? Well, do you think you can change the sigil and the person is just magically going to change? Of course not. You're gonna, I'm sorry to say it like that, but yeah, you're going to have to start again, I guess. You're going to have to create a new one. What are retro drops? Um, well, retro drops in general are um, the following thing. So imagine somebody puts out a new coin, a crypto coin, okay, puts it out. Now, in order to increase its value, you need somebody using it. That's called utility, or or utility, or basically demand. Now, if you're in the very early stages, what they do is they do a retro drop, which is you can get some of those coins for very, very tiny, tiny amounts of what they're actually worth or will be worth, or for free. So this means that you get a coin for free, essentially, and then when you find a good project, and you need to do, of course, some fundamental analysis on that project, right? But if you got a good project, it means that you basically are an early stage investor of a very, very, very promising project that will take off very fast. So in 6 months, you could 30x your money with that. It's basically early stage investing in um, crypto coins. That's what retro drops are. And if you have the right infrastructure, which means you get the information of what coins are about to drop, and you have a lot of bots out there that do a lot of automized work for you. You can make a lot of money with that, and that's probably one of the surest bets to become a multimillionaire in 2024, from zero to 100. Uh, An old channeling of yours, 7 years, told me of an event happening in under a year. Would you like me to send that to you? I'm not sure I understand. 7 years ago, I did the channeling, and I told you of an event that's happening this year to you. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I mean, you don't need to send it. I mean, you can just mention things here about that. Um, Good. What website do we find your school at? Which school do you mean? Which school are you talking about? So 2020 coins. Okay. I was dollar cost averaging for about 2 years ago, but I stopped to save up due to a lot of uncertain life circumstances. I should have way more invested in the market right now because banks are useless. Hmm. Yes, they are. Thanks. The 1% know how to invest that retro, retro drives. Maybe. There's a video that says join my school or you'll regret it. Uh, was it the last video that I that I posted? Psychic seduction school. Join my school or regret it. I must have spoken of the either the School of Psychic Seduction. Yeah, that's the only one that's open right now. So it's probably the School of Psychic Seduction. You can, you know what? Message me on Instagram if you wanna be part of that. It's Instagram.com/Aurelius Sopax. One word. Aurelius Sopax. Sopax. Aurelius Sopax. One word, and that's it. It's quite a few videos back. Yeah, it must have been School of Psychic Seduction. Um, the first lessons are going to be accessible on February 1st. When Frank says I'll regret something, I 100% believe him. When other people it's just manipulation. All right, if you say so. Um, that is um, probably accurate. Now, hello Frank, good to see you live. How you doing? YouTube and Discord is the only social media I do. I left all social media years ago. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, what we could do is hopefully you're signed up to my newsletter, right? The sorcerer, your favorite sorcerer speaks, and I'm gonna send out an email tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, and I mean you're gonna be able to access the application for that school. It's a school of psychic seduction. Yeah, I mean, let's go back to what I was talking about in the beginning, right? 2024, and you know, obviously you're all aware of the developments that we're going through, right? We're headed towards World War III. I think that's clear to everybody at this point now. Uh, Tell you what, um, now, like I said earlier, the people that are in charge right now in the U.S. they want to push for war, and they want to start it uh, before the end of the year, right? Before Trump comes into office, because he would de-escalate, but they need that for their agenda. So you're going to see 2024 being full of escalation, war, and let's hope we're not going to see any nuclear weapons used, right? And Now, the good thing is that when negative things happen or something is really, really bad, there are also very, very good things on the other side, right? So you have many, many opportunities. I already mentioned retro drops. I mentioned, you know, there are many opportunities to make a lot of money during these times, which is very good. If you utilize it, um, this is part of a bigger cycle of more than 20 years of a shit show. It's not going to get better. It's going to be really, really hard. This is the beginning, like who here hasn't felt that since 2020 life, I mean, the world's been shit. Everything's been just going fucking down the drain, right? Started with a bang in 2020, January, and then it continued just going downhill. We see an old system collapse, and we're going to move into another hard 20 years, another hard 20 years, and then it's going to be getting a little bit better, and but that's what's awaiting us, man. So all of us, we're most of us, I'm assuming, are still going to be here in 20 years now, and 20 years from now, and we have a hard time ahead of us. Believe me, hard time. I'm sure you heard of billionaires building bunkers. What do you think they're doing that, right? So, uh, wait, just need 6 months. I have a question. I'm a young filmmaker living in Mexico. I'm creative, but I don't make money with my art. Do you have any advice on how I could get more money with my abilities? Yeah, that's a common question. That's a common question. So here's the principle that very few people actually know, which is very interesting. You can make money with literally anything and everything, as long as as long as you're good at it, which I'm assuming you are, and you create value for other people. Okay, so the first thing that I would ask myself is, don't think about money. Think about what you can create that could be of value to other people. So how do you figure that out? Find out what potential demand is. Like most people, especially artists, I gotta say, I know so many musicians, for example, that are so, I mean, they are good at what they do, but they don't understand that they're performing for an audience. You have to perform for an audience. As if you're an artist, you have to understand your audience. Maybe if you have a big brand, a big name, you can create literally anything under that brand name, and people are still going to buy it. Okay, but that's a different position to be in. Like, I don't know, if whatever, if Kanye West, his brand is so big that he could literally create, he could do, like, he could create literal, I mean, he does. I mean, I hate his shoes and all that stuff. Like, I don't even know how people wear that shit, honestly. I think his whole brand is weird, but it's a big brand and some people like it. So he can literally do anything under that brand. I bet you he could sell socks with holes in it. He could sell a single sock with a hole in it, used, for $1,000 a piece. There would still be people that would buy that, but that's because he has a brand. So that's different. So the problem is that most people, especially artists, they have a very big ego. Artists have an ego, like fucking whatever, right? And they think that they're in that position. They think, oh well, Kanye West is doing that. Well, why can't I do that? Because you're not fucking Kanye West, okay? That's why. So what you need to do is you need to find out what your audience wants, and you have to use your strength and your skills to craft something that the audience finds interesting. You know. And that's what a brand does. That's why brands are so powerful. That's why people pay a lot of money for brands, because you can sell literally any product under a powerful brand. Do you think Nike could sell glasses if they don't already do that? Do you think Nike could sell glasses? 100% they could sell glasses. Oakley already does it. Does it. And if Nike decided to launch a a sunglass line or glasses line, they could do that. You know, the only reason why they're not competing with Apple Watch is because they don't have the infrastructure of Apple. But I mean, if I was them, I would create a cooperation. If that makes sense, you know. But I mean, who knows what's going on with them? But the point is, you have to. The principle is money is a symbol for an exchange of value. So you got to figure out what is valuable that you can create, and you got to exchange it with as many people as you can, and then you will never have a problem with money. That's it. That's what people forget. The principle of money is you can't pull it from somebody. You know, that's called stealing. What you have to do is you have to make somebody voluntarily give it to you. And that's what's that how is that done? You exchange something of value, something that is worth more than what they're giving you in terms of currency. And that requires creativity, that requires skills. You got to be good at what you do, and you got to be smart enough to make that happen, you see. And that's how it's done, right? And that's the very simple principle behind making money. So if you don't have the money that you want, it's because you're not producing something valuable, or you're not putting that value in front of the right people, you know. But usually it's both. The city that I live in had their citywide network hijacked several times within the past year. Oh my God. Okay. The city's sun is in Aquarius. Oh, that's funny. Interesting observation. Dow Jones looking to peak real soon, but like you mentioned, I'm leaning towards that silver lining of other ways to take advantage. Mhm. Even my IT teacher says she feels like something is up, feels like the currency going to change very soon. Also thinks we will start getting under surveillance like China. Yes, I've heard about the bunkers. Hmm. Does crypto work in the next few years? Yes, but around 2025, 2026, you're going to have a new kid on the block. You know, so Bitcoin is in 2025 is probably going to have his last bull run. Uh, all brands are weird. Remember, Kanye sold a plain white T-shirt for $400. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. A brand is super powerful. A brand, if you got a brand, a big brand, you can sell whatever under that brand. Now, the next level is, of course, buying brands. If you buy brands, and of course, all artists are owned, they should be, you know. If you own an artist, you own their brand, and then you can play an even bigger game. You can push society into a certain direction, right? That's pretty. That's pretty cool. But same could be said about the planet. To make changes, you have to have willing humans. Yes, I agree. I need to find a new employer because they gave me a promotion without a raise. And then they assigned the duties of my job again, so I'm doing two jobs with no additional pay. Well, use magic for that, you know. Use magic for that. Um, it's very easy to influence someone with using magic and then making them more of a friend than an enemy, and making them see your point, and making them help you in whatever you're planning on doing. Um, that's definitely more desirable than that. for sure. Hold on, how long have I been doing this? 51 minutes. Okay. If everything collapses, do you think a brand will do any good? It collapses, do you think a brand will do any good? Like this, it depends on where you are. It depends on your brand. Is your brand relevant? It also depends on what society we live in. In a different society, let's say 100 years ago, we had different circumstances and different disposable income. you know so it depends on what times we live in, what societal movements or developments we have. So the brands also change. If you look at the brands over the course of decades, they change quite a bit because different things become relevant. Right now we're coming out of, listen, we're about to end an age of complete degeneracy. Please understand that. And Kanye West and his fucking ex-wife Kim Kardashian and many many others. I mean, you go through the list, right? All of these, Takashi 6ix9ine and all of this stuff, right? We're about to end an age or an epoch or an era of complete degeneracy and horse shit, you know. So these people could not have been as famous as they were in the 1980s or in the 2000s or whatever, because the zeitgeist was different. Hey, listen, between 2010 and now, this has been one of the, like, the listen, listen. I know listen, I grew up in Germany, but I still grew up on things like Tupac Shakur and like West Coast gangster rap and all that stuff, right? That's stuff that I grew up with. And that was an era where, let's say, I don't know, things like what's this guy's name? That gay rapper. Uh, Even the idea of an openly gay rapper was like that shit is not like, rap music was so masculine and so manly and so you know you would have thought that that was the only bastion that's never going to be conquered or never going to be infected by this madness, right? Now, Lil Nas X, exactly. That's unimaginable in the early 2000s, even in the that's like what everybody would have run away from. Like that is what everybody is. No way in hell are they gonna like this, be like this, even respect this, even entertain the thought of doing something like that. That's just not. But that guy is now famous, and people listen to him, and he's kind of like mainstream, right? So maybe it takes a little bit of experience to see how crazy things can be different from like age to age or epoch to epoch. And the good news is that this was the bottom. No pun intended, right? I'm sure he's a bottom too in the bedroom, right? But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this degenerate stuff is coming to an end, and what we're going to see return are more traditional roles. All of this feminism bullshit is also about to end, by the way. This extreme feminism stuff. That's also over. We're going to see a movement towards traditional values. You can already see like more conservative religious movements taken up, becoming more important, and that's where society is headed. Thank God. We're going to move more towards that. And when I say society, I'm talking about like the average person, because the zeitgeist is changing like that. You know, I mean, this is, by the way, this degenerate stuff is also nothing new. That's happened many, many times over and over. You think being gay and fucking other men in the ass is something like heroic or something new? That's never happened in history before, and that's so you're so brave if you're openly gay and all that stuff. No, that's happened that's happened many times in history before. You know, look at the Romans, look at the Greeks, look at the all these empires. They had like phases of degeneracy where things like that are being like promoted, and transgenderism and all that stuff. Mind you, listen, I'm not speaking out of hatred or whatever, right? Like, don't think that I'm like, what's the word? I'm not, I'm not, I'm not hating on anyone here. I don't hate people. I don't like, I'm not like that. Okay, and I don't definitely don't want to come across as if I have hate in my heart for homosexuals. I really don't. You know, like, listen, if you're gay, God bless you. Whatever, it's good. Okay, I mean, what do you mean good? It's like, do whatever the fuck you want, right? But what I'm talking about is like a degenerate sense of, listen. Um, what I'm trying to say is, okay, there's like a healthy way of expression of something, and then there's an unhealthy way of expressing something, and that definitely was unhealthy and retardation. It's just what it is. Okay, now, um, but like I said, we're moving towards more traditional stuff now. Again, we can already see that. And is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's just what it is. You know, me personally, I prefer that. I prefer the old traditional stuff more, but it's just what it is. You see, I believe it's better for society. I believe. Listen, I mean, like, you do what you do in your in the bedroom. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It's not none of my business. But I think, like, who benefits from weirdos showing their asshole to every person, you know, or like letting everybody know how much they like it to get fucked up the ass, you know? Like, is that cool? Really? Is that a flex now? I like to lay on my. Now, hopefully, nobody's cutting this out and posting it somewhere else, right? That would be funny because, like, oh, Frank said this. Right? Know what I'm saying is, it's not cool to like, in my eyes, it's not cool if a man sits there or stands there and literally tells everybody, "Listen, I like to bend over and be dominated by another man." Neither is it cool if a woman does that. Okay, I just don't think that's cool. I don't think that's something to be respected, nor do I think that's something to be admired. I think it's disgusting. And if you like that, cool, do it in private. But I'm not letting you know what I do to all these women that I fuck. Okay, well, at least not in detail. I'm not telling you. Listen, I fingered that girl in public, and then I took her like back to my hotel room and fucked her in all this position. I never said that, or wouldn't say that. Or like I. So what I'm trying to say is essentially, and when I mention that, it's always in context. I'm not just walking around telling everybody what I do to all these girls, right? So, and the funny thing is, I think most people share my sentiment with that. I think most people think like me when it comes to that. I think it's weird if a guy enjoys getting fucked by another man. It's just me, but that's just what it is. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to understand it. It's none of my business. But keep that fucking bullshit in your own bedroom, please. That's what I'm saying. I was watching a show called Love, I Love Lucy, filmed in the 1950s, where the women wanted to be treated exactly like a man. Really? Okay. Did she know what she was up for? Uh, did she know what she was inviting? Listen, I think, man, yeah, nobody will have a time for that. No. So, I also think most gay people don't think it's cool to promote that stuff like that. I mean, that's embarrassing. Why'd you why'd you do that? She hated it when her husband basically ignored her and didn't do anything to help her. Yeah, I know. I mean, women, I generally speaking, yes, women are in a very privileged position everywhere. Like in society, yes, absolutely. I mean, they're gonna be like glass ceiling. Ladies, you have no idea. No fucking idea. Okay, she hated it when her husband basically, yeah, yeah, okay. I get it. Absolutely get it. Good. So do we have some more questions? Because I think I said most of what I want to say. So here's the thing. Um, there are still seats, are still spots open for the 2024 escape plan. Now, many people already, I'm already have a long list of people that I have to cover it. But if you're still interested in getting a 2024 escape plan, uh, I recommend that you get it. Go back to the videos in my channel where the title is it's almost too late. Okay, very important stuff. If you wanna be on the winning side, get that escape plan for sure. Everything, all details are going to be mentioned there. You know, it's like, how do I describe that, man? Big fortunes are always made during really, really bad times. I hope you understand that, right? Because, see, money is just energy, and money cannot, I mean, energy cannot be destroyed, it's only being transferred. So, um, the biggest fortunes always come out of uh, big problems and crashes. I hope you know that. You know, this is like I said, we're going into a very bad time, which is true. But we have to look at things on a broad perspective. If any one of you is interested in generational wealth and creating a legacy for centuries to come, for you know, depends on you. I mean, depends on how long term you want to think, but you have to understand that big crises are always the foundation for new uh, big legacies, for new big how do you want to call that? Yeah, I think fortunes. You know, when did the Rothschilds get rich? During big wars, right? They came out of nothing. So someone's has you have to start somewhere, is what I'm trying to say. And this coming time that we're moving into is the perfect start for that. And no, life is not going to end. And you can now you can set the foundation for becoming a new Rockefeller, Rothschild, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, we can question the ethics, but without a doubt, it's a great position to be in, right? So that's what we're talking about here. We're not just talking about like finding a safe space and rescuing yourself. We're talking about completely turning things around. And that can only happen during big crises. So in a sense, we got to be happy that we're living during this time. Now, this would not have been able during the 2080s, sorry, 1980s, 1990s. We're blessed that we're living in a time right now where we have these opportunities. Yes, it's going to be shit for 99% of people, but who are you? Who do you want to be? So, Frank, you messaged a little while ago about a pack work. I haven't been in the best financial position to follow up with that, but I will soon. Is this cool to discuss that still when I'm good? I mean, it depends on if I have the time. Right now, I think your best bet would be to get the escape plan, and then we can also talk about a pack, maybe. You know, I mean, in the context of that escape plan, there are many other things. I paid for option one. Can I get an upgrade over the next month or so? Yeah, sure. Why not? Before 2020, I was broke. After the pandemic, I started making more money than I ever had before. That's good. Good to hear that. How much does purpose come into play with all the things happening at this point in time? Purpose is the fuel, purpose is the battery, and purpose is what's gonna help you a lot with all those things. Absolutely, it's very important. Frank, I'm going to sign up for all the courses this year. I've been busy getting my life together and things in order. Yeah, sure. Um, no problem. Okay, guys. So, like I said, I recommend you get your escape plan. It's 2:20 a.m. My day is about to end, and I hope you got something out of this. So go back to my channel, go through the videos, and check out It's Almost Too Fucking Late and Can Psychic Seduction Be Dangerous? Both of those contain extremely important information. And somebody wanted to know if the number is 21 or the 21 people that have been gathered for Lucifer by Lucifer. Um, yeah, so there's one spot left. 20 have been filled. One is left. Good. I just came home from prison. How or what should I do? Yeah, yeah. I get what you're asking, my friend, but this is always the point. You see, it's if I gave you an answer here, it wouldn't be fair. Why? Why? Because you wouldn't be able to use that information. Good information, good un good un bon conseil besoin du détail, tu vois. So you need I need to know your current situation in detail. I need to know where you want to go, what your ideal is, and then we have to find a way between the two. That's the only way I can help you, man. I can't just I can't just, you know, put out bullshit that's not going to help you anyways. And that's the best case. Worst case, it's going to lead you astray. So that's an individual affair, you know. Good. So I hope you got this. I hope you got something out of this, guys. And hopefully, we'll see each other soon. Bye bye.